Welcome. Come on in, have a seat. I'm glad you're here. My name's Acacia and we're embarking on a new sewing project today. I have a bad habit of falling in love with fabric without having a plan of how to use it. Many a moon ago, I found this car print fabric at The Nest, which is a secondhand haberdashery store, and I fell in love with it, much to my friend's confusion whom I was with. She did not get why I found it so exciting, but I loved it and had absolutely no idea what to do with it. So I bought 3 meters, which I think that tends to be a good amount of fabric. It's enough to do a lot of different projects, but not too much that you have way too much and it's wasteful and you just have nowhere to store it. However, the fact that it is a directional pattern did limit my options a lot. I can't do a circle skirt without half of the pattern being sideways. I can't do a panelled circle skirt because it would waste so much fabric, because normally you would do triangle, 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 but you can only do triangle, triangle, triangles. There's these giant triangles you can't do anything with. So I'm thinking either culottes or a box pleat skirt. Really fat box pleats to not obscure the print too much because it is a large print. When looking at pleat inspiration on Pinterest, I came across this image. For pleats, the rule of thumb is generally 3 times your waist measurement. My waist is 80 centimeters, so my math said that this isn't quite long enough to do a triple pleat, but I could do a double pleat. So I think the plan is mainly because I don't want to cut out the culottes pattern. Pattern cutting and fabric cutting is my least favorite part of sewing, and if I just do a pleated skirt, it's just a rectangle I have to cut. So I'm thinking double or triple box pleats, we'll see what's doable, with pockets hopefully and a cute little button detail on the waistband. I actually pre-washed the fabric, which is something I never do. However, I have encountered an issue, and that is the fluorescent orange bits. They have run, all of them, which I've never actually had happen, so I'm really unsure how to fix it. I'm going to make the skirt with this fabric anyway. I do not think it's severe enough to throw out the window entirely. And because there's so many pleats on it, I don't think you'll notice. I will have to look up ways on how to fix that or prevent it in the future. If you know how to prevent ink running or even possibly undo ink running on fabric, please let me know, because I'm worried about how it will hold up in the long run and the damage it could do to other things it's washed with. My first task is to cut this big sheet of fabric into 60 centimeter widths. Lengths, I think, because that is the length we're working with for the skirt. I wasn't going to iron this skirt before I cut it, but I actually think I need to, so I will be right back. I've just started ironing and you can actually see a lot more smudges from the color running. There's black splodges, a whole bunch of places. There's the orange smudging places, so it is more than just the orange that has run. Okie dokie, 60 centimeters. There is one 60 centimeter wide piece. Each of these panels need to be sewn together into one big long piece before I complete it. I realized something that I didn't pay attention to, but I should have, is on here it says that the repeat is every 64 centimeters. I cut these out at 60 centimeters. If I had have done it at 64, I would have been able to pattern match the seams, which apparently are just so slightly off. So that's a lesson from next time. Anyway, I have sewn these 4 panels together. There is just enough fabric to do one more panel, and then there's about 10 centimeters left. But I want to see if this is enough so I'm not limiting how much I have for any pockets or waistbands or embellishments I want to do later. We're going to try and do it with this amount of fabric, and then if I can't, we will add on the extra panel. Let me get my maths notes up for the pleats. So I want to give it a go. I want to try and see, one, what triple pleating looks like, and if we have enough fabric for that, because I've done the maths and it says I have enough, but that just doesn't seem right. So we're going to try a triple pleat, see what it looks like, see if we have enough fabric, see if I prefer a double pleat, and we'll go from there. This is where the zipper goes. I want this to be the end of a pleat, so I need to pleat it like that. So let's start from the left. I think that would be easier working left to right. For a triple pleat, my waist divided by 5 is 16 centimeters. So the front of the pleat will be 16 centimeters, which means each of the returns is 8 centimeters. So first return, 8 centimeters. From that white section, because that's going to be the seam allowance for the easel. That's one return. I hope you can't see the top of my head. 2 return. And we're going to see what the triple one looks like. There we go, triple return. Let's clip that and then do the second half of the box pleat. That does look fun though, the way it... I'm going to do this from the back. I think that would be easier. I actually do think that looks nice. I don't know how to show you best. And it will hide the seam allowance in a pleat. I'm going to give that a go and try pleat the whole thing into triple pleats and see if we have enough, and we'll see how that goes. In hindsight, I wish I did the pleating differently. I just focused on the top and pleating on the top edge, but I should have treated the whole fabric pleating the top and bottom together in long straight folds from the top to the bottom of the fabric rather than just securing the top sections. It would have made the pleats a lot straighter and more uniform. I have done all the fabric of these 4 panels and it has made 4 triple pleats. If I sewed on the 5th panel, I would have enough for the whole skirt to be triple pleated. I want to see what it looks like first though. We have our 4 triple pleats. If I'm doing 5 and this to the back, that means it would go, so there's one right in the center. Oh, that's interesting. The curls are kind of at the same point on each pleat. I like how the triple pleats look, so we are going to go ahead and cut the 5th panel. Especially because if I don't do pockets, I just need fabric for a waistband, and what's left should be plenty. Which would leave us with an 18 centimeter section to do the waistband. I think that should be enough. We're gonna risk it. You know what I do hope I have enough fabric for? A big hair bow. I think that would be cute. I definitely did not have enough fabric for anything extra. I didn't even have enough fabric to do pockets, so... Look at that! Just enough to do the 5 triple pleats. Let's try it on and see how it looks. I really like that. I think I'm going to neaten up the pleats before I sew it, just because they are not absolutely perfect. I have done a tacking stitch over all the pleats so they won't come undone. Let's pick a zipper and then we'll work on the waistband. We have 2 options. They're both secondhand from the same place I got the fabric. This one, I think the metal looks cool, but it is very long. It's 39 centimeters, so I think it's longer than it needs to be. And then there's this orange one, which I think I might go with. Is that an invisible zip? No, it's not an invisible zip. I think it's the right length and the orange does match. Let's talk waistband. I love a thick waistband, but I have a very short waist. There's literally only 2 fingers width between the bottom of my ribcage and the top of my hip bone. So if I wear that, it just crumples in. I'm thinking I might go with the width of this Ford logo because I think that looks quite nice. It has the number plate and then the Ford logo. 2 inches before seam allowance. Let's go with that. I'm trying to think the best way to do the waistband. I think it's gonna be like bias binding it in. So we fold that, we fold that, we fold that, and then sandwich the pleats between the waistband. It will leave a stitch line on the outside, but I think that's okay if I do it neatly. So we need 4 inches, nice and straight. We need 4-inch line. Here's our waistband, and I want a cute little button detail like this kind of illustration with the point. I'm thinking it would be best to sew that on after. I'm thinking of sewing the end into where the zipper is and then it's essentially like a separate piece over the waistband. How did I do that? I cut it at 3 inches, not 4, which means if I fold it in half, the Ford logo isn't whole. And I don't think there's another logo. No, there's not. We're just gonna have to roll with that. Actually, we could sew 2 pieces together, another 3-inch piece, hem them together at the top. I think that's worth it. Hang on, let me cut another piece. I am sewing the waistband like a piece of bias binding, so I am sewing it right to wrong side on the inside of the waistband, and then I will fold it over and top stitch on the front. The con of this is that you will be able to see the stitch line. However, I actually think that would look quite cute on this. I think I'm also going to top stitch the top of the waistband as well. You'll see, because I think it would suit this style. And also I think it's the most secure way to get such a fat seam properly encased without making it really bulky and hard to wear. I have made an error as I've been sewing because I didn't really measure it that great. The waistband's fine on the left, but by the time you get to the right, it's folded over. That's the seam there. I think I'm going to go ahead and sew it because I think to fix that would be more effort than this is worth, considering I don't think it's that noticeable and it will still be functional. Remember how I was talking about that extra little button bit? I might do that over this bit to hide it. I do think this bias binding style waistband was a good call. However, it needs more seam allowance and more preparation than I gave it. So the waistband ended up quite uneven. I was way too confident doing this without proper preparation. I probably should have ironed this fold before I started pinning. That might have made this easier. Let's try stitch this. Swap into a zipper foot. I've sewn 1/2 on. I have done much neater zips in my time. That is not super straight. And I will have to go over this part because I had to pick the needle up so I could avoid sewing down the pleats. Again, I really should have ironed it first. That would have made it look so much better, but I think it's usable. That's messy. My my needle kind of got stuck because this fabric's so thick. I don't like that. I don't like that at all. Oh well, I have to go to a chiropractic appointment, so I can worry about this later. For the second side of the zip, I have actually ironed in these pleats, which should help. And I have a huge amount of fabric to chop off, which I am going to chop off a bit early because I want to make that little embellishment thing that I mentioned earlier, but I don't know if I'll have enough fabric. This is the only fabric I have to play with, except for that. And that's not going to do it. So I have that and that. So we'll see if I can or not. But if I can, I have to do it before I put the zip in. I'm going to give myself a ruler's width to sew the zip in with, because I would like to hide how this waistband twists around, and that's because I didn't measure it properly before I did it. I don't think it looks too bad. I really don't think it's that noticeable, but if we can cover it, I would like to. Does that look weird though, having it sideways? And that one's not really long enough. It would have to be this side one because I wanted to go from the center back around to kind of right front, if that makes sense. Let's try and make it out of this. If we don't like it, then we'll just scrap it. How thick is my waistband? 4 centimeters. So this would have to be 4 centimeters, which means, hello Bob, would have to be 8 centimeters. Yes, it's thick enough. I'll just have to be careful with my seam allowance because it's only 8.5 down here, but it is a lot thicker up there. What we're going to do is hello Bobby, he wants to sit in my lap. Oh, he's in my lap. I don't think I'm going to be able to sew now because I don't think it's hello. My button choice is between these two. I think this one is super classic and looks like it belongs.
but this one is a little bit more playful. And I think I'm going to make it functional so I can make the skirt a little bit tighter if I need, because it's come up a little bit loose.
I messed up. So I changed, when I was sewing, I changed which way I would put that strap, and I ended up doing it so it would cover the top of the zip, which means I need to make it removable, either with a buttonhole or a little snap. I completely forgot about that, and so I just sewed it straight on, which means now I can't get into it. So I'm gonna have to cut it off. I've done it as a buttonhole. It is a bit of a task to iron. Ironing it for the first time was probably the hardest, I'm hoping. My starch bottle made it harder than it needed to be because it just sprays in a very concentrated line, like a water gun, instead of an even wide spray. This skirt ended up being way looser than I thought it was. I knew it was a couple centimeters loose, but it is like way loose. I think partially it's just so even just the slightest looseness, instead of just sitting, it pulls down. But good thing is, because of this buttonhole-y bit, I can take this button off and put it further around and tighten it. Somehow every time I sew, it ends up too loose. I don't know if it's something to do with how I do my seam allowances, or maybe how I measure myself in the first place, but it always does. But yeah. Overall, I really like it. I'm not a massive fan of how the pattern repeats in each pleat. I wish it was either more varied or identical, but that is just an unfortunate coincidence of how long the pattern is and how wide my pleats ended up being. I did charge ahead and not give the finishing enough attention. I made very easy to prevent errors, like the waistband not being uniform all the way around. Had I just properly measured and marked, that wouldn't have been an issue. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know, if you could have any skirt, what kind of print would you love to have on it the most? I love novelty skirts with decorative edges, but I also love a circle skirt, and it's really hard to make a novelty edged circle skirt, as you either need specialist fabric or be very handy with a paintbrush to make the pattern yourself. That might be a project I try in the future, actually. Also, let me know if you'd like my sewing videos to be a bit more tutorial-y, or if you just like sitting through my trial and error. I know it's not very informative at the moment. If you like this video, give it a like, and maybe subscribe to see what else I'm posting. Go and have a great day. Bye.
The air conditioner in this room is so hot without it. Is about the noise of a jet engine.